What's going on, YouTube? So compact crossovers are the bread and butter of the US market, and the Chevy Equinox has long been a popular choice. And today, not only do we have the latest 2026 model, this is actually our mom's personal car that she's been testing out for the last 4,000 miles. So, with lots of new competition, including a RAV4, should you buy this Equinox and save some dough? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, let's jump right in with a quick spec dump. So under the hood of the Equinox, you'll find one engine. It's a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine producing 175 horsepower. It's paired to either a continuously variable transmission or an 8-speed automatic. And with front-wheel drive, the combined fuel economy is 27 mpg.
Now, the base price of the Equinox is sitting at $28,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, we have some impressions to share as well as the experienced fuel economy over that 4,000 miles, but first we need to shut up the hood and talk about the exterior and interior design.
Now, when you first walk up to this Equinox, you'll probably notice that it has a pretty handsome look. And one of the things I want to mention right from the start here is that you might be surprised to know that what we're looking at today is the base trim level. It's the LT plus the Midnight package, which is a pretty affordable package overall. We're looking at this model being only a little over $31,000 as equipped. And I think this has a very impressive look overall for that type of money. So you'll notice up here in the front, we get the full gloss black grille when you choose that Midnight Edition package. You also get the blacked out bow tie logo. And as we move over here to our headlights, you can see that we have standard LED headlights. All the models will get this premium setup with your daytime running light and turn signal indicator up here at the top, and then a projector LED as your main headlight. You can also option on fog lamps if you want those. And as we move to the back, you continue with that kind of scaled down look versus a Traverse.
Yeah, and overall, the individual design elements are also pretty premium because we have a spoiler up here at the top, a rear window wiper, and let's take a look at our taillights. So even here on the base trim level Equinox, we have a full LED taillight unit. That's pretty premium for this segment. The brake light, your turn signal, and then you also have the LED reverse light right there. Now, as we drop down to the lower fascia, no exposed exhaust outlets or anything like that. And as far as your tow capacity, that's going to be on the low side for the segment. It's only 800 pounds for the front wheel drive or 1,500 pounds with all-wheel drive.
Now, standard on the Equinox will be 17 to 19-inch alloys, depending on which of the 3 trim levels you choose. One of the other benefits, though, of choosing the LT plus the Midnight package is it upgrades you from 17-inch alloys to these 19-inch gloss black alloys. This was a big reason why our mom wanted this package, because these wheels really elevate the overall look to look like the RS trim. Now, you have a little bit of cladding around the wheel arches, and then up here on the mirrors, you'll also find a gloss black finish. They have heating and blind spot monitoring on all trim levels.
Now, at the side of the Equinox, the overall vehicle length is 183.2 inches, and you also have this kind of like floating roof design, which I do appreciate. You can additionally get a two-tone roof on certain trim levels, and as you can see, we have the raised roof rails. That's also included in that Midnight package. Now, as far as the color, there has been a 2026 edition this year. You can now get Polar White, although this particular model is Summit White that you're looking at today. Now, when it comes to all of your safety systems, every single one of those is standard equipment, so that includes things like adaptive cruise control, and Super Cruise is not going to be offered here on the gasoline Equinox. But there's quite a lot of value on the inside for this affordable trim level. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. All right, let's move on to the inside. Here is our Chevy key fob. It's the brand's typical fob. You have standard smart entry as well as remote start on all models. Getting inside, just press the silver button there. That will unlock the door. And then let's check out the interior. Like I already mentioned, this is the LT Midnight, so you can see kind of what you get on a more affordable priced model. Starting with the seats. So you will notice that we have a cloth seat. This is one of the biggest signs that you have the base model, but you can also option on a leatherette if you want to spend a little bit more money on this trim level. That leatherette seat is also going to be included on your Active and your RS as standard equipment. You have black and gray options. The seat is also manual adjusting on this version, but the other two trims have standard power adjustment, and those trims also offer available memory seats. But let's climb inside. Closing up the door, we can look at the rest of the cabin materials. I'm happy to say that the materials are pretty much exactly the same as that top-end RS trim level that we've shown on the channel before. You have a leatherette through here with a texture and stitching detail, piano black accenting, and it will be hard touch on this section of the upper door trim. As we move to the upper dash though, every part of this is a soft touch plastic. We have a leatherette that goes all through here with a stitching detail down below the vent and a little bit of accenting through there. And then down here on the lower panels, it is going to be hard touch, but everything does feel nice and solidly put together. All right, let's fire it up with the push button start now. Now let's jump into some individual details of the interior. We'll start as always with our gauge cluster. The Equinox comes standard with the 11-inch digital gauge cluster. You have several different designs you can choose from. This, of course, is probably the most premium design, is that you can do the full screen Google Maps view. And then as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have the latest Chevy design here. All models will have a leather-wrapped steering wheel, and impressively, all trims, including the base model, come with a heated steering wheel as well. It is manual, tilt, and telescoping. Now, let's turn over here to interior storage next and check out how much we get and how it compares to the competition. Now in here, you'll see we've got some donuts. That's because, of course, we like to do the signature donut test. That's how we know how it stacks up against the competition. And this fits in here 14 donuts. So it does pass our dozen donut test and even exceeds it by a couple. Now as we move forward, you got a couple cup holders, a little bit of storage here. We've got a new drive mode controller for 2026, by the way. You have a spot which is a wireless phone charging pad on many of the trim levels, but that's going to be optional on the LT. Then you have more storage right through here, and you even have a center pass-through. So this is really doing a great job in this segment for giving you lots of space up here in the front to stick your belongings like your cell phone and other objects. Now, of course, they can do that because they have the electronic shifter up here on the column. You're just going to pull back and down for drive. We do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then when we go up into reverse, this is what our standard backup camera will look like. You do get parking sensors as well as active trajectory. And then a 360 camera is optional across the board, including on the RS and active trims. Press the end for park. You also have an electronic parking brake with a brake hold function. Now, as we zero in to this section, this is one of the elements where you can tell the LT from the other trim levels because you'll see that we've got a manual climate control setup. Dual zone climate will be standard on the other two trim levels. Nevertheless, one nice standard feature across all the models is the 3-stage heated seat option, and seat ventilation is optional on RS and active trims. Continuing the tour, the next place we come to is the volume knob. Now this is an interesting vehicle because there is no upgraded sound system offered. So every Equinox comes with the same 6-speaker sound system, including the loaded one, and we'll give that a sample right now. Overall sound quality is decent at this price point, but of course, as you go up the trims and you're spending more money on the Equinox, we would certainly expect to have a branded sound system. All right, let's zero in now on the main infotainment system. So this is an 11.3-inch display. It's also standard on all models. And inside of this, you have all the expected technology as well, including wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You're seeing that in action right now. As I mentioned earlier with the Google Maps, you also have Google Apps built natively into the system as well. So you can use things like Google Maps, Google Assistant, all of those things. And I will say that this has been a very impressive area for our mom. Of course, she's providing us feedback and stuff, and she has really enjoyed using the technology in this. It's very seamless. It pairs to her phone every single time. Now up above here, we've got a manual dimming mirror. Chevy does offer an available digital camera rear view mirror if you want that instead. We also don't have the sunroof. You know, our parents were trying to save some money, but it is optional across all of the trim levels if you want it.
But we need to talk about the rear seats of the Equinox. So first and foremost, let's talk about the space. So what we're sitting at is 39.7 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. Both of those figures are actually going to be pretty good. As far as legroom, that's bigger than something like our very own RAV4, and the headroom is going to be pretty solid, although it's not quite as large as the largest options like the Honda CR-V and Hyundai Tucson. Now, I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. Now, the reason I do that is to get a realistic knee room figure. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", I'm 5'9", and we are looking at about 8 inches of additional knee space. Also, my feet can slide up underneath of the seats, and the seats themselves are actually going to be super soft here in the back, especially here on this cloth seat version. And then you do have a fold-down center armrest with 2 cup holders inside. Let me see if the seat reclines. The seat does not recline though, so keep that in mind. Now, as far as the features, we have 2 USB-C ports right there. We also have rear vents and a little storage cubby down below. You can get heated rear seats if that's something that you want. It's going to be optional on your RS and Active trims. Now, over on the door trim, it is going to be a little bit cheaper because you have the hard touch on the upper part. However, the entire center section is a padded leatherette, and then there's also a little bit of storage down in the very bottom. Walking up to the tailgate, we have the manual tailgate on this particular model. You can option a power tailgate onto this version, or it is standard on the RS or Active grades. And let's talk about overall cargo capacity with this model. We're sitting at right around 29 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. And if we fold those seats down, which we can do pretty easily, you just reach up here and push the seat forward. It's 60-40 split, by the way. That's going to give you your maximum of 63.5 cubic feet of cargo capacity. That does mean that this Equinox is going to be on the smaller side when compared to its rivals in overall cargo capacity. The RAV4 is bigger, the CR-V is bigger. And speaking of all those main rivals, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. We've looked at all the options in this compact segment. It's super competitive, and ranked them in individual categories. Things like cargo capacity, interior technology, luxury features, price and value, as well as things like powertrain. You can see the best options in each of those categories depending on what's most important to you to really make that informed buying decision. Now, back to the Equinox, let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as cargo length, what we're looking at is 72 inches, 6 feet of length behind Drew's 5'8" seating position. From behind the second row, 36 inches, 3 feet. From behind, or as far as the width, 41 inches wide. The height, 29 inches. And the load-in height is 30. Now, if you lift up the floor, you'll find actually quite a lot of extra space, which is pretty useful for several different items. Then underneath of this layer, you also have a spare tire, which is something that some of the rivals cannot say. Well, guys, now we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Chevy Equinox. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. But first, we need to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, there we are, hitting 60 miles per hour with this Equinox. So, as we discussed with the spec dump, this is available in just one powertrain option. It's a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It has 175 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque if you get the front-wheel drive version. So, interestingly enough, unlike most of the competition, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive does change a few different things. So you actually get more torque if you get the all-wheel drive version, and you get a different transmission. We'll talk about that in just a second. But regardless, at 175 horsepower, it's going to be one of the lower powered options in the segment. And like we were saying, you can't upgrade to a hybrid or anything more powerful at this point. So your 0 to 60 is going to be on the slower side as well for the class.
Yeah, what you're sitting at is around an 8.6 second 0 to 60, so that is definitely on the slower side, that's for sure. We've seen that in previous Equinoxes that we've tested out on the channel. We lived with an RS for a full week, and you know, that's for the all-wheel drive variant too, so this front-wheel drive variant is going to be a little bit slower than that, likely as well. So that's really one thing that's a con about this vehicle compared to a lot of the competition, including our very own RAV4. You know, the RAV4 is going to have a lot more power than this, and it also has that all-electric torque to get you off the line because it is a hybrid. You know, this is definitely going to feel a little bit more lethargic.
Now as I accelerate a little bit again there, we can get into that transmission discussion. We already kind of started talking about it, but the front-wheel drive version comes with a continuously variable transmission, while the all-wheel drive version comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. We have sampled the 8-speed in the past. It is a good partner with this powertrain. As far as this continuously variable transmission, you know, of course, with a CVT, you are going to get a little bit of that rubber band type of feel. This is present a little bit, but it is mostly a nice linear response. Also, the way that they've tuned it, I think it feels a lot peppier when you get off the line. And that's kind of because of that CVT tuning, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Subaru Forester we were talking about. They're a little peppy off the line initially. Now, we are on our designated strip of road to discuss things like ride quality, so let's get into that discussion. The Equinox has pretty solid ride quality, that is for sure. That's going to continue for this 2026 example. And because we have the 19-inch wheels, these are the largest wheels that you can get in the lineup, you will feel some intrusion when you hit a large bump in the road, but overall, I think they've done a good job of kind of isolating most of that out. Also, I will point out that these cloth seats are really quite comfortable. So sometimes, you know, if you get a more basic trim level with the cloth seats, it can be a really stiff seat that doesn't have much padding in it. That's definitely not the case for the Equinox. All right, let's get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. I'll make sure we are toggled to fan speed 1. 56.1 decibels is what we have settled in at as our sound level reading. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to its numerous rivals. We can find all of that at carconfections.com. And compared to those rivals, it's not, you know, the quietest option that you can get in the segment, although it's going to definitely place itself right in the middle of the segment. Things like the Honda CR-V are going to be louder than this, so I'm happy that even for a more basic trim level that we're still getting a pretty quiet cabin overall inside of here. Now, what's the fuel economy? So with the front-wheel drive variant, it's 26, 28, 27, and then with the all-wheel drive variant, it goes down to 26 miles per gallon combined. Now, one of the interesting things is that the trip has never been reset on this car, so we have around 4,000 miles on it, and as far as our mom's typical driving, it is mostly on the highway. However, what we're sitting at as the average fuel economy across that 4,000 miles was 29.1 miles per gallon, so that actually is 1 mpg better than what the EPA is saying on the highway. So if you do mostly highway driving, you're going to be sitting right around that 30 mile per gallon mark, which isn't half bad. However, of course, we would definitely like, you know, Chevy to add a hybrid variant or other powertrain option as well, because that's not great fuel economy, especially for as weak as this powertrain is.
I will point out they do also have the Equinox EV, not related to this product really in any way, as it's obviously full electric and has a totally different body, but that is something that is classified, of course, as an Equinox, so I wanted to point that out. Now, as far as handling is concerned, as you'd probably expect, not a super emphasis with this vehicle or many things in the class, but it is just fine overall. Let's talk about the Slam Dunk and Airball. I'm going to start with the Slam Dunk, and that is the value on this model. I think specifically spending time with this LT Midnight, you see a lot of these around, and I know why, because it just really represents a great package compared to a lot of the competition. You could save thousands of dollars, you know, still get a lot of, I would say, unexpectedly nice features like the technology, the heated steering wheel, the design on the outside. It kind of looks like you have a higher end model, and it feels like you have a higher end model than what you're actually paying for.
Yeah, now on the flip side, our airball is going to be the powertrain situation. We don't love the engine under the hood. It's definitely going to be on the weak side, so hopefully you don't mind that too much. And also, Chevy should just offer different powertrain choices. An upgraded engine would be nice, a hybrid would be nice, and also it really doesn't incentivize you much to move up the trim structure, quite frankly. This LT Midnight pretty much gets you almost everything you need, so there's not really much of a reason to get a fully loaded Equinox.
Yeah, for sure, especially if you chose the optional leatherette and the optional panoramic sunroof. It's kind of like an RS at that point, but it still costs quite a bit less.
Now, we've been talking throughout this entire video about how value-oriented this model is, so what is the price? Well, we start at $28,600 for the front-wheel drive LT, and then the Active and RS are both starting at $33,000. Now, this particular model is probably a very popular choice in the Equinox lineup. We have the 26 Equinox LT. This is actually the front-wheel drive variant, and then after we add in that Midnight package, that's $1,000, and then we have a destination charge of $1,795. We're sitting at $31,540 as tested today, which really in this compact space is a very good value. As far as where it's manufactured, it is manufactured in Mexico. And if you're looking to buy an Equinox or any vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use if you plan on doing any dealership negotiation. You can find all of that on our website at carconfections.com and even things like a monthly payment tool. But let's go ahead and talk about the resale reliability and warranty. First up, let's talk about resale value. Chevy as a brand has an estimated retained value of 54.71% after 5 years and 60,000 miles, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 20.4%. Now that's actually above industry average for all vehicle brands. However, it's not quite as good as some of the Japanese rivals you may be looking at, such as Honda, Toyota, or Mazda.
Now we also need to talk about reliability. With our combined reliability index updated to the latest 2026 information, Chevy is rated above the overall industry average against all other vehicle brands.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about all of that, you can find that on our website, carconfections.com. Now, when it comes to the warranty, you have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain, and you do also get 1 complimentary service visit covered by Chevy. And guys, that wraps up our review of our mom's very own 2026 Chevy Equinox. If you enjoyed this review where we detail some of the 2026 changes as well as this LT Midnight model, we'd appreciate you subscribing down below, becoming a part of this Car Confections family. And if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much. You make this all possible. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.